Welcome everybody to another video or episode on the podcast. Today, as the title suggests, I want to talk about one of the most common misconceptions I see and experience in people when it comes to self-love and self-development, growth, and that obviously I've gone through very big time myself and still work through because it's a pretty deep conditioning, which is also really rooted in this competitive, goal-driven society that we grew up in. And the thing that I'm talking about is the lack of accepting ourselves where we are at. I spoke about self-acceptance as a crucial or important part in self-love and self-development already in the last episode last week. And I kind of want to elaborate on that and just talk a bit more specifically about self-love or self-development, self-unfolding, because I have had clients come to me and work with me. They have certain goals in mind. They want to be more loving towards themselves. They want to be better able to handle their emotions. They want to feel more comfortable in their body and with their sexuality. So these are all legitimate goals. I think everybody has them in one way or the other. But what comes in the way of actually living that is the resistance to who we are right now. And what I mean by that is that people think they're not good enough as they are right now. And that's like one of the biggest belief systems that lives in, I dare to say, all of us. We all grew up with this conditioning that at some point in our lives we learned that we're not good enough. The schooling system does a great deal in showing us that we're not good enough if we're not behaving a certain way, if we're not writing, if we're not bringing home certain grades. So we learn that we are at something. If we're not good at something, we make it mean that we're not good enough. And I've just come to realize this when we actually honestly and deeply look within. This is what we find, that there is a deep feeling or belief of not being good enough. So if we are not aware of this belief, it's a really deeply rooted belief that's being formed in childhood, and that's really being formed, that's like a collective shadow in this society. If we're not aware of that, we are going to go about our personal development in a way of not being good enough. We need fixing. We do all this because we're not enough. We're not worthy of having the things we want to have, of being the things we want to be. So we're constantly in this inner kind of war, constantly wishing away certain parts of ourselves. So, you want to be more self-loving, and there is a part of you that's like indulging in food. In a way that's not congruent with the picture that you have about yourself when you're your most self-loving self. And that is probably true, that the way you're consuming your food, or you're consuming also mental food, it is possibly true that the way you are living your life now is not congruent with your more evolved version of yourself. But hating on this part, wanting to get rid of this part of yourself, wanting to have it disappear, that's not self-loving. So self-love starts right here. And it doesn't start when you finally manage to get rid of all the aspects of yourself that are not congruent with what self-love is. Self-love starts with looking at those parts that are like acting out of alignment, I'll say. Looking at these parts and going, whoa, something here is not acting very self-loving. Something inside of me is not very congruent with self-care. What is this trying to tell me? What is this part really wanting? What is the purpose of this part? What is the underlying feeling of this part within myself that's always, or that's very often needing food or excessive movie, social media, or media consumerism to feel better by not actually feeling better. So what we want to do, instead of trying to get rid of that thing, instead of denying it and resisting it and wanting to push it away, we got to get curious about it. Because those parts of ourselves that we detest, is that an English word, that we like reject the most, are actually the parts that are portals into deeper self-love. They are like signposts. They're like, hey, here, I'm like so unloved. I'm so fucked up. Can somebody just kind of love me? And I don't even fucking know how to ask for it. So I'm just acting in these really fucked up, weird ways. And I hope somebody will get it. And usually, now we're adults. If you're watching this, you're somewhat an adult. It's your job to look after yourself in this way. And looking after ourselves doesn't mean that we're like only have to like do everything as this one woman or one man show and just like be perfect with ourselves, for ourselves, like do everything independently. We are interdependent human beings, right? So it's totally legitimate to go to feel inside and to be like, okay, I'm feeling the deeper, I'm talking an example now, the deeper underlying feeling of my urge to go on social media and scroll for hours. The deeper feeling underneath that is actually, I want to feel belonging. I want to feel like I belong. So I can then see how else would it feel actually nourishing to me to meet that need. And that might be going out for coffee with some friends, calling a friend, asking a friend to give you a hug. Or if you're in a situation where you even feel like there is nobody in your life at the moment where you feel like you could ask these things or that person could nourish these things, then go even deeper and see if you can really truly acknowledge that part in yourself that so has such a deep yearning to belong to a like-minded community, or to have some deeper, more profound connections than the ones you might be having. And get in contact with that part of yourself and make something like an agreement or a commitment, saying, hey, okay, I feel you, I hear you, I see you, I get it. I understand that you are actually so deeply yearning for a deeper connection in life with some people. And I hereby want to commit to making this a reality in life. And then you can see what emerges from there, what next step you can take from there. Whatever that may be. That might be a small thing, it might be like a bigger thing, it might be booking a yoga class in the next in your town, or it might be making yourself a cup of tea now that feels really nourishing, like whatever. It might be something small, might be something big, but usually like connecting to this deeper underlying parts of ourselves that are under the behavior that we are rejecting. This is where our kind of, you want to call it like that, truer self lies, and our deeper wisdom lies. That is the version of ourselves that is actually the self-loving being. So I hope this makes sense. I think this is so important, that no part of you is useless or is stupid. Every part of you is actually yearning to be loved, to be allowed into this omnipresent stream of love, of cosmic love. Like, love isn't really something we do. Love is something that just is. And we allow ourselves to feel that love, to be in that love, by releasing resistance to the things inside of us that are acting out of alignment, acting like weirdly, acting in a way that makes us feel shit. Yeah, you know, like we all know it. Like, scrolling on social media feels kind of good for some time, but afterwards we're always like, oh my god, what did I just do these 2 hours wasting my fucking time? So if we allow these parts of ourselves to be heard at first, we soften, we become more relaxed, energy can flow more freely, and this omnipresent cosmic love can flow through us and can guide us more. We are acting more out of this love, if that makes sense. But this is obviously also my very personal experience, and yeah, you're invited to check this out for yourself. And if you need help with releasing resistance to these parts inside yourself, this can be very useful to get help from a practitioner, from a person who does this kind of work, like myself, or like some other people. If you already know some people, go for them. It can be difficult in the beginning because we are so used to rejecting these parts of ourselves. We're so used to suppressing these parts of ourselves. So it can be challenging to change our relationship to them. But the more we practice it, it's like a muscle. It's like doing push-ups and going to the gym or whatever. The more we practice, the more it becomes, yeah, kind of natural. It does. And then there's always deeper layers and layers and layers of our consciousness that are presenting themselves to be allowed into the stream of love. So yeah, I wish you a beautiful week. This was it today. If you have any wishes for this podcast or for this YouTube channel, it's the same thing. I invite you to send me a message and ask, and I can see if I can talk about this, if I can answer a question. And yeah, otherwise I will also come up with something. And wish you a beautiful week. Thank you so much for being here. Bye bye.